Hey guys. Alright, so today is going to be a new one. It's going to be Life During the Black Death Pandemic by Puppet History. I don't know what to expect. I don't know why I'm watching this, but it's history related. Let us see what life was like during the Black Death Pandemic. It was horrible. Spoiler alert. It sucked. Yeah, people died. You'd get like boils or whatever on your body. That very gross. There's no cure. It killed you quick. You got infected, you'd be dead within probably the next 2 days. See, that was the Black Death. Anyways, I don't know what to expect. It's 24 minutes, so I'm kind of curious as to what they're gonna say. So let's watch.
Welcome one and all to Puppet History. Today we'll be taking an ever-winding look at yet another chapter in the heavy, heavy book we call history, while our guests ruthlessly compete for the coveted title of History Master. I am obviously your beloved host, the Professor.
I can't believe I'm normalized already to talking to this blue creature.
Thank you. Ryan Bergara, are you ready? Answer me.
Yeah, I'm ready. Sorry.
Special guest Stephen Lim, are you ready?
I have never been ready for this.
Okay, then let's crack in.
Let's do it.
Distracted by his tiny little
Look
satchel.
at that bow tie.
Huh? Thank you.
The satchel's killing.
How long did it take you to build your outfit this morning?
I wear this every day. This is my look.
Okay.
Today, we're talking about unimaginable catastrophe of devastation so swift and sweeping that it could easily be mistaken as nothing short of the apocalypse. To set the mood, a reading.
Yeah, it was pretty much like the apocalypse. I mean, I definitely say in the towns that were in the cities and nations where the Black Death was pretty rampant, there was an upswing in the preaching of the apocalypse arriving.
From the signs of death. When the head trembles and the lips grow black, the nose sharpens and the sinews stiffen, the soul has left, and the body holds nothing but a clout. Then will the body be thrown in a hole, and no one will remember your soul.
Hey, Chief, your glasses.
What?
Your glasses fell off, man.
I was just getting really into it.
Yeah, but they're on your mouth. It's distracting.
Hang on. We're talking about the malady of many names, the big sick, the great mortality, the bubonic plague, a terrifying, rapidly traveling biological nightmare that brought 14th century mankind to its knees. What do you guys know about this thing?
I know very little. I just know it was devastating.
The idea of using great as the adjective has always been kind of curious to me.
Like World War I, the Great War?
The Great Plague made people cough up blood, and then they had to bury them in pits.
Well, so when we think of like older English, older use of words, when they described something as great or amazing or fantastic or whatnot, it did not translate. They weren't meaning it in the positive light. They were when they used like great, amazing, fantastic, they were speaking it more in the way of like big, grandiose, huge, wide, ever far-reaching, right? Like the Great War. It's the Great War because, well, and it would have, if it weren't for World War II, it would be still known as the Great War because there would be no other war like it, right? Be the Great War because, well, everyone was involved. It was far-reaching. And if you're a book reader, you will see this. You won't just see this in history books, because historians also write like that. They will put like great, fantastic, and such, like I was saying. But also, if you read Tolkien, which he's far more far-reaching in people's minds than history books are, right? In The Hobbit, I believe he uses like that kind of language, similar language in describing smog. And I think he's used it in other ways, right? So that's our modern sense of the word of great. Like we've attributed those words with positive vibes. Today they are not. Well, back then they were not necessarily positive vibes. They can be used to describe positive and or negative things.
And then set the pits on
God,
fire.
we're only
Yeah.
2 minutes in.
No good.
So that they wouldn't contaminate others. But great plague, though. Good one. Really good.
Right.
A good question to kick things off is probably, where'd this thing come from, and how did it turn into such a go-getter? Well, nobody's certain, but most put the plague's origin somewhere in the remote regions of Mongolia. Based on contemporary reports of mysterious maladies, it may have spent some time bouncing around smaller populations in northern China in the 1330s, but would really explode in 1347. And as for its biological tenacity, before we understand anything about the plague, we must first understand 3 key organisms in this global dance of death. The bacteria, the flea, and the rat. You guys get rats in LA?
I was once in my classroom, actually, in high school, and a rat fell from the ceiling and hit a girl's desk. And my teacher pushed a child out of the way and said, every man for himself.
That's pretty funny.
He ain't no professor, I'll tell you that.
Plague, as we know it, is caused by a little bacteria called Yersinia pestis, a very tough little guy. Not only can it be spread by fleas, it can be spread by 21 different species of fleas. According to author John Kelly, it can affect rats, squirrels, gerbils, prairie dogs, and roughly 200 other rodent species.
Oh, wow.
That that is a great use of using a source to explain something. Well, it can affect so many species. That helps you understand and pose the argument like, oh shit, it can affect that many species. No wonder it was so widespread and it spread so fast as it did. Yeah.
Wow.
So this pesky bacteria was actually called pest?
Pestis. Yeah.
Is that
it's just
actually
like
where pest derives from?
Maybe?
Your glasses
Oh,
fell
no,
off.
your glasses.
Me?
Shit.
You're a
That
professor,
happens
bro.
when I
Come
get
on.
really
I
excited.
think you need to get fitted for your nose.
I believe that's where
So most
the
of
word
those,
pest
hey,
comes
who
from.
cares? I mean, the world wasn't overrun with prairie dogs in the 1300s. Would have been pretty cool, though, right?
Sure, yeah.
I'd love it. Rats, though! Rats! Rats are the big problem here. Specifically, Rattus rattus, the black rat. Nearly invincible
really the
rodent
name
that
of
can sire
the
millions
scientific
of
name for rat?
offspring and chew through, among other things, lead pipes. And when you put 3 of those things together, there's a nasty little biological menage a trois that goes down.
Oh, no.
The red light can only mean we've arrived at our first question. What do you think happens when an infected flea crosses paths with a rat? A, the infected flea burrows into the rat and dies there. B, the infected flea vomits into the rat. Or C, the infected flea sits in the rat's brain and controls it like that little guy in Men in Black.
I like this quill.
I love it.
While you fill out your answers, I'll show you what you're playing for here.
That's what I want to know.
Behold, the coveted cup of the history master.
Is that a hand I see?
No.
Whose watch is that?
Huh? Oh, bet you guys want to win that, huh?
Yeah, sure, man. Does it come with the hand?
Ryan, what did you put?
I put A, but I would very much like it to be C because that's more novel to me.
Very good. Steven?
I put A as well because I cannot imagine a flea vomiting after a night at the club.
Little puke puddle.
Another good club. I like that. Well, let's find out.
Jesus, someone just shot the professor. I think I got hit by a sniper.
What's the name of that trophy that we're winning?
I forgot already.
Oh,
wow.
Whoa!
Oh gosh, what a lovely night. I don't know how a rat like me got so lucky, living in a time like this when the streets are absolutely caked with scum.
That's a rat.
That is a.
Yeah, I'm a rat.
An
Looks
attempt
more
at
like a
Brooklyn
bunny.
accent?
Kind of look like a kangaroo.
Or like a
Like
dog.
a kangaroo. Didn't you ever?
Your voice changed drastically.
No.
You went from Brooklyn accent to timid mouse in a house.
I think this rat's workshopping accents on the fly.
Hey, boy with the strawberry hair. What's your name?
Oh, I'm Big Apple Steve. That's right.
Oh, Big Apple, where they got the Broadway.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, when you go to Broadway, do you yell at the people on stage?
No.
I'm in the middle of a scene.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Apologies to the mouse.
Where was I? Gosh, what a lovely night. Oh, hey. Oh, well, if it ain't my old pal, Mr. Flea. Here to deliver one of his classic bites, no doubt. Well, have at it, you pesky devil. Hey, Mr. Flea, you know, you don't look so good. You eat some bad sushi or something?
No way!
Wow.
It vomits?
Oh my god.
Huh, did you just bite me and then also vomit onto me? This is not what friends do.
Remember how I said I can't picture a flea vomiting. Yeah.
He did a good job of it.
Actually, I get it now. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, it turns out it vomits into that old funny rat, so I guess neither of you get points.
Oh, man. Wow. So it bites the rat and then vomits into the wound?
Yes, what you witnessed there. What happens is the plague bacteria infects the flea, causes a buildup to form in the flea's gut, which causes two bad things. One, the flea never actually ingests anything and therefore desperately continues to bite whatever it can. And two, without any gut to go to, the blood, now infected, is then vomited back into the bite, almost assuring the spread of all Yersinia pestis.
Good old-fashioned double tap.
Yeah. So you take that lethal cocktail, add in a few environmental factors.
I did not know
Some
that.
historians point to that region experiencing earthquakes, floods, and famines in the 1330s and 1340s, events very likely to drive rats out of their natural habitat in search of food. On top of that, you suddenly have trade routes spanning the continent. So now any rat stowed away in a loose sack of...
Well, they've had trade routes spanning the continents, Afro-Eurasia, since Rome. The Silk trade route had been around since Rome for centuries. It is not new. The world has been interconnected for a very long time. So, yeah.
grain might end up halfway across the hemisphere in a matter of weeks. Question: what other horrific factor contributed to the plague? A, the popularity of a dish called rat pie. B,
That's
the
not it.
streets being caked in piles of innards. Or C, the rising belief that flea bites were gifts from God.
It'd be B.
Oh.
Are all the answers just going to be B?
Ryan?
I'm gonna go with B. Most of those European streets back in the day were caked with poop. That's how
Steven?
actually a lot of artifacts got preserved.
I'm going with B as in Bergara as
A couple
well.
of B-boys.
Double B's.
Well, author John Kelly paints a lovely picture. Quote, in most cities, the butcher's districts was a Goya-esque horror of animal remains. Rivers of blood seeped into nearby gardens and parks, and piles of hearts, livers, and intestines accumulated under the butcher's bloody boots, attracting swarms of
Yeah,
rats.
cities
Hold on,
weren't
hold on,
really
hold on.
that
This seems a little
clean.
lazy.
Huh?
They still
We're not
are.
gonna get a little skit here or anything?
We got more skits coming.
I feel like I need a skit right now.
That's a lot of okay, hang on.
Matt, did I really just cause him to skip this?
I think he's improvising.
Wow, what a lovely day. Oops, I stepped in some poop. Was it worth it?
No.
Did you feel like you were transported to another time?
Do you have any idea who you're talking to? Not me, but that's Big Apple Steve right there. He hails from Broadway. He's a high theater critic.
That's, yeah, well.
It's true. I've seen Wicked before.
Well, as stated, there was also the issue of torrential downpour of human feces, as it was customary for residents to empty chamber pots out of the window.
Gross.
There was one generally accepted rule of thumb
Yeah.
when tossing those turds.
It was also, either that or you dump it into the river and also help, infect the entire city population.
Oh, question time.
Question time.
Can you guess the socially expected courtesy when tossing your turds? Write
Oh, I
your
know this one.
answers.
Ooh.
I will not give you multiple choice this time.
How do you toss turds?
You
Can
throw them out your window.
sketch that for me?
You yelled something. I don't know what you would yell, but you yelled like incoming
I
or
would say
whatever.
You would need to say a phrase or something to alert said pedestrian that
Sort
a
of like
turd's
a-
about to hit them in the head.
Sort of like a 4.
Yeah,
Hey!
so I went with tally ho, or I also thought about bombs away.
Sure. Tally ho! Here comes a poop.
I went
Steven.
with
Tally ho in 1300s Italy. yeah, sure.
poop 4.
Poop 4.
Yeah.
That's good.
And that's probably where that came from in golf, if this is accurate.
The common courtesy was to shout, look out below, not once, but 3 times.
Uh-oh.
And then you just go ahead and loose your stools upon the world. I'm gonna give that point to Ryan. What? Because I think tally ho is a little more fun than poop 4.
Poop 4?
Poop 4.
Hey, 4 is like almost 3.
All right, moving along. The whole apocalyptic horror show really kicked off in October of 1347 when 12 Genoese ships pulled into a Sicilian port, and the men who got off were they were pus and bones. They were just they were like walking skeletons, basically.
Oh, like Pirates of the Caribbean, Black Pearl.
You
Yeah.
look like Blue Elmo.
Did you? He just talked about men walking off as
Yeah,
being the
sorry.
human embodiment of skeletons.
Oh, sorry, you're Blue Grover.
I guess Sully
No,
from
Grover's
Monsters,
Blue
Inc.
Grover, you idiot.
You know this guy Shane Madej? He looks like a blue
No,
version of him.
I don't. You know, nobody goes up to Kermit and says, "Hey, how's Jim?"
So you're familiar with the concept of a puppet as a puppet.
You know,
Are you sentient?
That's
Are we
very
gonna get
self-aware.
metaphysical
dropping
here?
Yersinia pestis into an urban setting was like dropping a match into a swimming pool full of gasoline. There were 3 distinct forms of the plague that ravaged the land: bubonic, pneumonic, and septicemic. Which would you rather have? A, septicemic plague, B, pneumonic plague, or C, bubonic plague?
I do not know.
Well, septicemic, that'd be the poop. Probably pneumonic,
Ryan, what'd you
because
put?
that's pneumonia.
I put B because
Oh,
B,
no.
septic is poop like a septic tank. Bubonic, obviously bad. You said pneumonic?
Pneumonic.
Makes me think of pneumatic.
Oh, like at a bank.
Yeah, so when you put like a little important file or document in a little tube.
No,
and
it's
it
not
gets-
a, it's not
Isn't
a
it-
dunk. It's more of a thunk.
No, I think it's like a thunk.
It's more like a thunk, 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 thunk. Steven, what'd you put?
Isn't pneum related to the lungs,
Yes.
breathing? So I thought, I want to breathe,
Sure.
so I chose A, septicemic.
Septicemic. Well, let's learn about them and see if you made the right choice.
Put that curtain down.
I got too obsessed with the thunk sound.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
I don't feel well, and that's because I have classic bubonic plague. After being bit by a flea, I developed black, egg-shaped swellings on my neck and under my arms. These are called buboes.
What? Wait,
Is-
what?
is that-
Sorry? Say that again.
They're called buboes.
They're called buboes?
They're called buboes. A funny
Yes,
name for
they
the
are.
source of my greatest dread. In a short while, more splotches will riddle my body. I will literally reek of death, and there's a 60% chance I'm a goner.
You guys got the buboes.
It sucks.
Sense of humor.
Hey!
Dying.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
I don't feel well either.
You don't look well.
you have the same voice as guy 1.
That's because I have pneumonic plague,
Uh-oh.
which is what happens when the plague bacteria travels to the lungs.
Team B.
Just my luck, I guess. Anyway, there's a 95% chance I'll die.
Oh, you
Oh.
down, Ryan.
But no buboes on your neck.
But not.
But here's why I'd pick that. I know what my chances are. I know I only have a 95% chance to die. Wait. I have a 5% chance to live. You see, they underestimated me. I want to die.
Before I start coughing up blood and spending 3 days ceaselessly vomiting.
But all this clear buboes?
This sucks.
Come on, Septo. Under 60.
I don't feel well either. And that's because I have septicemic plague, the rarest but worst form.
Oh no.
That means the plague has entered directly into my bloodstream.
You'll get them next time, pal.
If that sounds bad, that's because it really is. I have a 100% chance of dying.
No way. There's always a
Shit,
chance
I
of
want that
living.
one then.
By the time
I
I
wanna die.
realize I'm even sick, I'll only have about 14 and a half hours left on this mortal coil.
Fuck.
Good thing I've got a short bucket list. A fun treat for me is that my extremities will turn black and harden.
Wait, there's nothing to do with pooping? You don't poop yourself to death?
No.
If you're all dead.
So, that little bit also kind of gives us insight into the Black Death, because this isn't. They're just giving evidence, but they're not really forming arguments with it. They're just like, yeah, this is. Here's some stuff that happened. We're not gonna extrapolate and explain how this. We're not gonna go into the inner depths as what you would do. As what you do as a historian, right? You take the evidence and you explain further on it. So, with our evidence there of the bubonic, pneumonic, and septicemic, we can understand which one was obviously the most common and also where the bubonic plague name came from and why it's popular. Because the bubonic form was the most infectious, it was the most common, so that was the one that spread through all the people, and that's the name that stuck.
Ed, why are you still standing?
I could have explained that
Nobody
better.
gets points.
I mean, I have a 5% chance of living.
I have
0% chance.
I have a chance.
Oh, Jesus. You almost killed the first guy.
Huh?
And your
And
glasses.
your glasses fell
Fuck,
off.
I forgot these guys are still out here. All right. How you guys doing? You hanging in there?
We're good. Who gets
Gonna
the
give
points?
That point to Ryan, because he only had a 95% chance of dying, whereas Steven is a goner.
I don't even want that trophy anyway. I want his satchel.
You don't even know what's in my satchel.
I kind of don't want to know.
I want
Oh, you want to know. Go on. Open it up.
I'm not going to open it.
Open up my
I'm
satchel.
opening up the satchel. Can I open it?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
There's not gonna be anything in there.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wait, is there actually something in there?
Wow.
Wait, is there jelly beans
No,
in
no,
there?
you can't look. You can't look.
No, wait,
no.
there's jelly beans in there. I want a jelly bean.
Yeah, go on.
There's jelly beans. Look at
It's
that.
actually jelly beans. Are you gonna eat that? You don't know what that's been. That could be puppet poop.
Don't matter. I'll die for a jelly bean, baby. It was delicious.
Dude, puppets
You could have
poop
just gotten
You know
jelly
what?
septicemic.
You're okay in my book, Professor.
Thank you.
You're okay.
Needless to say, those were all pretty gruesome ways to go, and it was happening everywhere. Though records are shoddy, most historians put the average mortality rate around 30 to 40%, and in highly populated areas, it could have been as high as 50 to 60%.
Many villages ended up just getting completely wiped out. Some places would lose 90 to 100% of their populations. And if you've looked at maps of the bubonic plague's infectious, or well, where the bubonic plague was, what you'll see is like places like Poland, for instance, are like white out, meaning that like you assume with how we view maps, most maps, when they put something white, it means like 0%, right? They weren't affected. No, it just means that those places had less than 10%, maybe even less than 20%. So they definitely still got hit hard. It's just that the bubonic plague in places like Poland never hit her urban population centers because of how sparsely populated places like Poland are at this time. But places like Italy, they got screwed.
Oh, this is not a question, but a challenge. In the folders next to you, there are tiny envelopes, and in each of those tiny envelopes is your fate. One of the three of us will not make it. Now, I already opened mine, and I live, so...
Oh
Oh,
man.
I do like this tiny little letter. That's kind of fun.
You want to swap envelopes?
No,
Oh, like the old Monty Hall?
You sure?
think it's worth it?
I think I'm good. I'm gonna keep my envelope.
Envelope.
And on...
Envelope? I think envelope.
Envelope.
What?
Hey, look.
What do we
Says
got?
I remain alive.
Well, no. Congratulations, you have died. Plus 1 history point.
Oh! Let's just bask in this for a moment and try to feel the weight of a world without Stephen Lim.
He's not real. It's a puppet.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not real.
Yes, I am.
How do you toss turds?
Well, he was a good guy. And, I don't know what else to say about him, really.
Wow.
Back to the plague. Most hilarious part of this whole thing, to me, is that everybody who was supposed to have answers for this stuff, doctors, church leaders, they had no idea. Some renowned blowhard in Paris said it was caused by a strange alignment of the planets.
Can you say that sentence again? I got distracted. Sorry.
Why?
No reason.
Well, God-fearing folk just chalked the thing up to divine wrath. Most of them probably thought it was the genuine end of days.
Yes and no. So contrary to popular belief, people, the educated members of society at this time, understood diseases in a certain sense. They understood like how they spread, right? For the most part, they understood like you need to be clean, right? They understood cleanliness. So to say it was the wrath of God, yes and no. I haven't read some sources in a while, so my thoughts could be a bit off. So just letting you know, my what I'm saying could be wrong. But the end of days was probably just like people trying to explain it because they felt maybe it was less scary to say that God was angry or something, right?
There was a weird response to that in the form of the Flagellants, a group of people who toured from town to town. They'd show up, whip themselves to a bloody pulp as the local townsfolk cheered them on, then writhe on the ground as the locals dipped their handkerchiefs in fresh puddles of blood.
Did they call themselves the flatulence?
No.
And hold up, that would indeed further the spread of the
That's
plague
what it sounded
if one
like,
of those
yeah.
guys were
Did they
infected.
go to town
No.
farting?
The Flagellants.
Oh.
Like,
No, we get it. Yeah.
Flagelling?
And as for doctors, they actually tried their best, but they also fell short. A lot of them blamed, quote, infected air, which is sort of close, but they prescribed things like bloodletting and opening northern-facing windows.
Oh,
Which of these other strange things
I was gonna say something, but I
prescribed
couldn't
by
think of the
doctors? A, huffing toilets. B, wine enemas. Or C, snorting ground-up wasp wings.
B? I think it's B.
I'm locked in.
I think it's B.
I'm gonna go with B, wine enemas, because
right.
I could see maybe how they would think that would flush the system.
Okay, and Steven?
I went with C.
C, snorting
The wasps.
ground-up wasp wings. Well, one physician noticed that latrine cleaners seemed less vulnerable, which resulted in scores of people huffing actual
No way.
human fecal fumes.
No way.
So point to nobody. As you can imagine, once the death toll started to rise, things got real grim. Businesses closed up shop, people left town, carts made daily rounds to collect the previous night's deceased. It wasn't long before bodies were piling up. At night, dogs and pigs would feast on the shallowly buried bodies. With the graveyards filled, in some areas they dug mass burial pits. Elsewhere, they dropped hundreds of corpses into a nearby river to take them to, well, who the hell cares?
As you would.
To the
Somewhere
next
else,
village
in this
that's
kind of
down the
atmosphere,
stream.
You can understand how people might just totally throw in the towel. In the novel The Plague, the narrator exemplifies this emotional exhaustion. Quote, none of us was capable of exalted emotion and sorry. In his novel,
Gather yourself,
says
Professor.
I'm toasty back here. None of us was capable of exalted emotion. All had trite, monotonous feeling. It's high time it stopped, people would say.
As you would say when all of your family members are dying.
It's high time this
High
stopped.
time this would stop.
I'm gonna start using that. Me the puppet.
It's high time this would stop. But they said it in a British accent, though, right?
I mean, it was all over
High
Europe,
time this would
so
stop.
it's high time. Is that German? I don't know what that was. Well, the constant looming specter of death also seeped into art. If you'll look in your folders at the supplementary materials, take them one at a time here.
More
You'll
material.
find some art from someone who lived through the trauma of the plague, Hans Holbein the Younger, and it features the Danse Macabre imagery that arose around the time.
Oh, there's a child. Oh no.
Yeah.
That's
This is
great
not
stuff.
funny.
Now that is pretty good stuff. I do appreciate that.
Oh,
No,
that's dark.
don't take our baby.
The funniest thing about it
Lots
is the
of
nice little
lots of
nightcap
Black
they have.
Death art would
Yeah, but that kid's
would
shirt's pretty fashionable.
did a
That's
rise.
the new Kanye collection.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well,
There's a
in
thing
what
that would
must have
happen when
seemed
something
like
so
a miracle,
catastrophic
the
spreads
plague
throughout
would
the world.
largely run its course by 1351. Luckily, the rats carrying the plague were not actually native to Western Europe, so once the disease burned through the population, it could no longer sustain itself. 4 years of constant gripping.
It also could not sustain itself because it killed the weak. And that is how plagues die. The strong survive and the weak die. That's pretty much how it works.
Terror. For
A
what?
natural immunity
Well, I'll
gets
tell you
built
what.
up.
There were some baller ups.
Unless, of course, first a vaccine is made, but obviously this is before vaccines. The first vaccine wouldn't be made until the 1700s or something.
Sides to this whole thing that nobody ever talks about. So let's count our blessings. Which of these was an unexpected upside of the plague? A, it killed a very bad pope. B, it raised minimum wage. C, people made sheds out of bones.
It's B, but technically minimum wage is not a thing back then. It killed so many people that there was a labor shortage, and so because of the labor shortage, more people could get jobs. But this also meant those people, since there were fewer people, they got paid more and whatnot.
Raise the minimum wage. Supply, demand. Let's see that economic curve.
This is what Jeff Yang has
Jesus.
in mind, right?
It's like a very depressing Shark Tank.
I go B.
I'm gonna go B as well.
Couple of B's. My B-boys again.
Yeah, we're riding hard.
Points for both of you. The job market was a booming. So landlords tended to employ numerous workers, and since the workforce was, in some places, almost halved,
Yeah.
they were desperate to hire whoever they could,
Or 80 to 90% gone, right?
which allowed the workers to up their asking price.
Simple economics.
And while this would eventually level out a bit, it still permanently tipped the scales for the working class and granted them both bargaining power and a previously unseen confidence. So despite the silver lining,
And
there's no
also
getting
can
around
be
the fact.
seen to have led to the rising middle class, in which after the pretty much kind of in the 1400s, after the Black Death, we start to see a greater upswing in the prominence of the middle class in taking over control from the nobility and the clergy. Now, it still would take a very long time for this to really happen. For instance, probably really wasn't until the 1600s, at least in Britain, when they had their glorious revolution, in which the middle class really saw an upswing in their power. France, they would not see it until the end of the 18th century and into the beginning of the 19th century. Germany, I don't think, would see it until they abolished serfdom until the late 1800s, something like that, after they unified. Russia would not abolish serfdom until the early 1900s. But the point is still made that because of this event, it allowed the middle class to start gaining power.
The plague was one of, if not the most devastating blow.
So you can thank the Black Death for essentially modern society. It's a stretch, but it's not far off.
Issued
The
to
world is a
humanity.
crazy place.
To better illustrate that, one last shot at history points. If the plague happened today and took an equivalent toll on the population,
I've done the math
how
on
many
this.
people would die?
Oh,
A, nearly 956 million, B, nearly 1.9 billion, or C, nearly 7.53 billion.
I actually don't know how many people there are on the planet, but
really?
I really don't.
It's B.
Yeah.
That's the number you should probably
Rounding out.
know. Is this double points here?
But it's honestly not. No, there'd be natural immunities. Okay, let's say we didn't have. So with our natural immunities today, if it were to happen, I'm going to lean more towards A. But if, say, the Black Death did not happen back then and we never built up those natural immunities to the disease and it happened today, it would probably be B.
Yeah, you know what?
Proportionally
Yeah,
speaking,
hell? You
the
can't
same
just make
proportions
that up on the
happened,
spot.
right?
Yeah, I did. It's double points.
Hey.
Ryan, what'd you put?
I put C.
You put
You
C.
are so wrong.
That's right.
And Steven, what'd you put?
I put B because
B.
there are about 7 billion people on this earth, and a third of them would be around 2 billion.
That's exactly right. 1.9 billion is the estimated figure. Grim. So the final history point goes to Steven. This concludes our history lesson. I'm going to go tally up the scores to see who receives the coveted cup and the title of History Master. While I do that, please enjoy the special performance from, let's see, who do we have this week? Yes, Death. You know, during that funny little plague, I worked some long hours, and at the end of most days, my dogs were barking. Well, you know what they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Tell you what, I think it sure is fun to make people die. You should see how friggin' fun.
I don't think there's going to be any more history. There wasn't really much history anyways in it. It's very general history, I guess, is what this is. I don't know if I'll be reacting to any more puppet history, just based on this one video on the information that was said. This is obviously not directed towards me. This is this is towards, I guess, a general audience that does not know much about history. Really, also, this is kind of very basic history. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I won't say it was bad. It wasn't my kind of entertainment. Obviously not geared towards me. But yeah, it was okay. It's okay. They didn't really explain how life really was like during the Black Death. They kind of just said some things and then didn't really extrapolate that information into explaining how life was like. So yeah, that's going to do it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to leave a suggestion down below as to what you'd like to see me react to next. As always, thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.